So a few weeks ago, me and a few friends decided to go on a little camping trip, and I thought this would be a really good time to take out my film camera and shoot a roll of film. But instead of picking any roll, I decided to choose a roll of film that is 20 years old. And to be honest with you, after shooting with it, I'm pretty shocked with the results. Obviously, when you're shooting expired film, it can be a really nerve-wracking thing because you just don't know the results that you're going to get. But here are some things to consider to help you get better results while shooting. You see, film has an expiration date, and that's due to the chemicals that are within the film. Over time, it begins to lose its contrast and sensitivity. Along with that, you're going to see increased grain, you're going to see some color shifts, and a really flat-looking image. Because of the decreased sensitivity, you're going to need to expose that roll of film differently than you would with a regular roll of film. The rule of thumb that I've learned over the years when shooting expired film is for every 10 years that film is expired, you need to overexpose that roll by 1 stop. So for instance, this roll of film is from 2003, and so it's 20 years old. So I needed to overexpose it by 2 stops. Now, I shot with Kodak Gold 200, so I just had to crank it down to rate it at an ISO of 50. Which changes the game because now all of a sudden you're shooting at a completely different exposure than you were originally with the programmed film. But this is a way to help with that lack of sensitivity that you have within that film. I shot all these photos with a Canon AE-1, which is a pretty affordable film camera with a 50mm Canon lens. I also brought an 80-200, but I didn't use it at all. I do this a lot of times where I go on a trip and I bring all of this different gear and I never end up using it. Let me know in the comments below if you pack your bag so much and then you never even use the gear. It's kind of frustrating and I probably need to bring less gear. The reason I took the Canon AE-1 is one, it's an operating camera that I have, but I think it's a really great camera for you to be able to pick up if you're wanting to get into film. It's super cheap, you can find them about anywhere, and a lot of people operate on them if they're broken or need to be tweaked a little bit, and that's what I love about this camera. Now, I haven't shot film in years, and so this was really a first time that I was going out to shoot film properly and not worry about anything else. So I was pretty on edge with shooting because I just didn't know what my results were going to be. But to be honest with you, I was really excited with the results once I got them back, and it made it for a more enjoyable experience. If you've shot film at all or you're wanting to shoot film, there's something special and unique about being able to slow down and enjoy your composition so much more. Film is something that is hard to explain and more something that you need to experience. And my experience with shooting film on this trip just made it really enjoyable and really fun to hang out with my friends, shoot a few rolls of film, and not really think too much about it. So once I got back from my trip, I dropped off my roll of film at a lab to wait for them to send me the results a week later. And once they emailed me, I was super scared to click on that link to see what they looked like. But once I opened them up, I was pretty shocked on how good they came out. I want to take you through some of the shots that didn't look so good because of the shift in color and sensitivity in the roll of film. Now, this photo was actually one of the last photos on the roll of film, and this was just a photo of my car where we were, and you can clearly see that it was really washed out. There's not a lot of color, but you're also getting this like weird streak of like pink, magenta, red. You're gonna see a lot of red in these images as we go through them. And what I wanna do later is maybe see if we can pull them into Lightroom and tweak those photos a little bit to bring them a little bit back down to neutral. So this shot, I was trying to get a photo of a bird, and I'm actually glad I was able to get the bird in the frame, but then you see obviously the other half of the image is this nasty light leak that came through. And I actually think this was my fault. When I was cranking the roll of film back into the canister after I had shot it, I didn't crank it all the way. So when I opened up the back, a lot of light came in and I quickly slammed it. And I think that's the result of this. But I'm glad that I was able to get the bird on the tall grass. You can really see that color shift here in this photo where there's like a really warm tone to your image. I shot this at sunrise with the water and just the sun just kissing the top of the mountain, and I thought it would be really cool. But here in the shadows, you can see that again, it carries out that like really warm look to it. Almost has like a little red shift in it. The problem that I noticed on all of my photos is that there's this weird little streak on the same spot on every shot. I don't know what that is. That might be a smudge on the lens or the mirror. Or maybe the roll of film. Let me know in the comments below if you could explain what that little smudge is. I don't know what it is, and it's thankfully easy to correct, but kind of annoying that it was on all of my shots. That same morning, I saw like a goose in the water and thought it would be really cool to get a photo of him. He was not happy to see me at all. Instead, he was like really like just hissing at me a lot. I don't know about you, man. Geese are kind of scary sometimes. I feel like they would just like really hurt me, and I don't want to be hurt by a goose. That's like the worst way to go. Surprisingly, I think the colors actually look pretty good. They look fairly neutral. Obviously, they're not like as saturated and don't have as much contrast as like a normal roll of film would have. But for 20 years old, this shot doesn't look that bad for it being like a roll that's that old and everything. I think the mountains look pretty good. I think the greens come out pretty cool. You get like a nice grain in the background, which is kind of cool. Everybody loves a good film grain, and I think the best way to get film grain is actually just shoot on film, but I think this looks pretty good. Obviously, you want to get the right exposure when shooting any photograph, but when shooting expired film, you want to make sure that you're probably a little bit more overexposed to just clean up on the grain and have the image look a little bit better. With this one, I underexposed it a little bit, I think, and that really shows up in the shadows. You can see like a lot of hefty grain. So when you're shooting expired film, you definitely probably want to lean towards the overexposure instead of underexposure. I think the thing that I hate most about shooting film is because you don't know what you're gonna get. When you're shooting a shot, you think this is gonna be my favorite photo that I've taken on this roll, and then sometimes it ends up being the worst. So now what I wanna do is take some of these photos in Lightroom and see if I can tweak these at all and get them back to a more neutral looking look. So I wanna work on this photo first because I think this one is probably the hardest to fix. Obviously you have like that weird magenta shift, so I'm probably gonna go in and just try to like change that magenta and like drop the shadows a little bit. Maybe add back a little bit more contrast. That looks, you don't want to do too much because it can start to look gross. I don't think I'm going to be able to get rid of that like pink strip without like maybe heavy Photoshop work, but maybe bring the exposure down a little bit. And again, I'm no photographer at all, so, but I'm treating this like I would treat like coloring regular footage, like video. For me, when I'm shooting film, I don't do a whole lot of adjusting to the photos just because it's kind of fun for me to keep them as is and I don't have to worry about it, and it's less work on me. So what I did here on this image was I just kind of shifted the blues a little bit more. This is what it looked like right out of camera, and I just bumped up the saturation in the blues a little bit more to just give it a little bit more fill. I think it looks better. And then the one thing I did was just like kind of push up the saturation just like a touch. But I did the same exact thing here with the goose. I just added more saturation in the blues because again, what I've noticed with shooting expired film is that the blues tend to go quickly. Without it, it looks like this. And you can just see that the water's a little washed out. If we could just juice it up a little bit, it looks like this. And I'm not doing a whole lot to the photos, but I just think it works. So with that sunrise photo that we have on the roll, obviously I said that it was like really warm. So what I would maybe want to do is just try to shift the white balance a little bit just to tweak it. You'd probably want to tweak it more in the shadows here. Yeah, see, like obviously you could push it like even more red, but if I wanted to like neutral it out a little bit, I think it kind of works. I mean, it goes from that to this. It's definitely got a little bit more contrast now. We've added that here. I think it just helps with it. I was actually pretty hyped on how these photos turned out, and it's probably something that I'm gonna hold near and dear to my heart forever because that's what film photos are for. But shooting expired film was actually really fun. If you have a roll that's expired, or you maybe have something at your grandparents' house or your parents' house, I would highly encourage you to go grab that roll, throw it in a camera, and go shoot. The one thing I would say is don't have high expectations because, again, you don't know what you're gonna get and it is gonna be a gamble, but it just makes for a more enjoyable shooting experience to do something out of your box, out of your comfort zone, to enjoy it a little bit more. Are they the best photos ever? No, but I think it was really fun and I think it would be really great for you. Hey, hopefully you found this video helpful at all in any way, shape, or form, or you found it entertaining. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe because that would be awesome for us to be able to make more videos like that in the future. And also, if you liked any of the music you heard in this whole entire video, it's from Artlist. Artlist did not sponsor this video, but we do want to let you know that we have an affiliate link down below that you can click to be able to get music like this for your videos in the future, and that would help us out greatly as well. But go grab a roll of expired film, throw it in your film camera, shoot it, experiment with it, enjoy the process because that's what it's all about. Anyway, we'll see you guys in the next video.